Welcome back to Gear and Beer. Today our guest is the pride of Blakely, Georgia, Mr. Kyle Everson. Kyle, cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming in. I'm sitting on my ears and it's making it hard to move my head.
Must be hard to hear that way also.
You know, it is hard to hear sitting on your ears. That is a good reaction to me being stupid. Welcome back, Gear Point Beer 2.0 Point Beer. Off to a great start. Kyle, appreciate you coming, man. You know, with everybody's travel crazy during the summer.
For sure.
Have you been hitting it pretty hard?
Yeah, you know, I was over in Green Hills earlier today at my barber's place. Got to give a shout out to my barber over at Green Hills Barber, taking care of me. But
I went to my barber yesterday.
Did you?
Basement Barber, shout out 615.
There you go. Love it. But we were talking about travel, and, you know, I've been to California twice this month, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So we've done one little West Coast run to start the month of September, and then we did sort of it's almost like taking a spacewalk and being strung along a little farther, you know, and then reel back in.
Yeah.
So we did Albuquerque, which, I mean, we had, have you ever been to Frontier Restaurant in Albuquerque?
No, my favorite, Lyndon can attest to this. One of my favorite restaurants on this earth is in Albuquerque. It's called El Pinto, and
yeah.
I was in Albuquerque 3 weeks ago with Love and Theft, and also California. But when we were in Albuquerque, I insisted, and we went to that restaurant. But tell me more about Frontier.
Well, Frontier, I mean, you know, green chili is kind of the thing out there.
Totally.
And so, you know, that's which I found out that green chili is, now that cannabis is legal, is the local slang for going to the cannabis store, is going to get green chili. So
that's funny.
We had a local runner that kind of gave us the lowdown on that, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah,
but,
you can pretend that you're a local and fit right in.
But, man, this place, it's right across the street from, I guess, University of New Mexico. Whichever university is.
I feel like I've heard of the place, but I haven't been there.
So it's kind of popular with the college crowd, and we've stopped, like, years ago it used to be open 24 hours, so it was a stop along the interstate to get, you know, if you were heading out to California on a 2 or 3 day bus ride or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, big burritos, enchiladas, just smothered the way you want them to be, and all the good stuff. Did you get it
Christmas style?
You know, actually, it was ordered for us, so by the time we got it, it was sort of...
Did you get it? Was anything delivered Christmas style? Do you know what that means?
I do know what that means.
Okay, that's a cool New Mexican thing.
It is. On the way out there, we stopped at a little roadside Mexican restaurant that served things up Christmas style. And
Christmas tamale, that's New Mexico as hell.
For sure. You know, I actually had a tamale at that place, and... you know, it was almost like a piece of cornbread. It held together so perfectly. It was flaky, and just the filling was great.
What's Christmas style?
Red and green chili, half and half.
Okay.
It's also like Tex-Mex took that and they inserted a cream sauce and did like the Mexican flag colors, the red sauce, green sauce, and the white sauce for enchiladas.
Got it.
But yeah, that New Mexico they call it Christmas style. Okay. Because they're, you know, it's hatched green and red chili sauce. Mm-hmm. There's no meat in it. It's like,
and it is hatch chili pepper season.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I think I was out there 3 weeks ago, and the waitress was like, "You guys are here at the right time." And I was like, First of all, there is no wrong time to be at this place. The place that I'm talking about, El Pinto, they do red chili ribs. Wow. And it's like a red chili, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a chunky red chili sauce rub kind of a thing. Yeah. And you just have to have them to understand. I can't even really do it justice.
Well, you know, there's a really good, you know, moving on up through the green chili universe, you know, Colorado has their own version that has, you know, chunks of pork in there. So, you know, that's always a good change up when you're doing that. Rose Pepper here in town actually has a pretty good chili Colorado.
Really?
I would recommend, very spicy.
I've made chili Colorado for at least 2 guests of this podcast.
Maybe next time we need to.
That's that guy that I used the recipe for the rice that from my chili Colorado recipe.
But it's red, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying the Colorado version they're using hatch chilies?
I believe so.
Oh, that sounds. Is it pork shoulder?
It's a very tender cut, like a roast or a loin, maybe.
Okay.
No, it's he used short rib actually for his chili Colorado.
Ooh,
and I've used just like a chuck roast.
Oh yeah.
Because for beef, I would imagine they use shoulder, maybe loin.
Yeah.
Seems like loin might be something Colorado would use.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, anyway, tacos, bro.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
But yeah, to answer the original question, we've been doing a lot of touring. I work with Martina McBride. So I've been with her for a few summers now. And, just as it was, got to visit a couple of places in the country that are my favorites. The Pacific Northwest, and anywhere along in Southern California is always a great place to be when it's really hot around here.
You're doing great, McCarty.
I'm trying to take a reel here, and it just automatically turned the sound on.
Yeah, so that's a new thing with the platform. Any reels and any stories, they're automatically on. Just it's a competing with TikTok thing. 'Cause TikTok, you can't the sound is on when you open it.
Huh. Wonderful. All right, well, sorry.
Yeah, so welcome to this world that we live in.
Yeah, that's new to me actually.
I have TikTok. I've made like 7 cooking videos on there. None since I've lived in this house.
Well, I think the steak tacos that we had a little bit earlier should definitely be a choice for one of your cooking videos.
I don't know if I've done the steak tacos. I do make them all the time.
Well, the steak that you used, and I got to tell you, I mean, I've had a lot of different places around. We're discussing Mexican food from all over the country, for goodness sake. And that's probably the best, most tender skirt steak I've ever had on taco.
What it comes down to is knowing how hot to cook it. If you can get, I cooked it over wood coals, which is my preferred method to cook any kind of a meat, honestly. But, excuse me, that skirt steak, it's high fat and it's really thin. So the thinner, the hotter and faster you want to cook it. The thicker, the lower and slower. That's just the general principle with steak and beef, really in general. And if you cook it hot and fast, but you don't burn it, you get the little crunchy bits from the coals, man. It's like a little steak candy.
Yeah,
on the
steak
outside.
candy.
I made some the other day that, now, full disclosure, typically I salt it right before I put it on. I didn't do that this time on accident, so what I do is I take the skirt steak, I put the tiniest bit of beef tallow on the outside and salt and pepper that on just one side.
Nice.
And then I put it on. But I forgot to do the salt, so I pepper and beef tallow, and then I salted the other side, and it didn't taste the same, but it was still tender because I cooked it right.
Yeah, well, I thought
but typically I don't have to add salt after I chop it up, which I did tonight because I undersalted it.
I like that trick of putting beef tallow on there before you put it on the grill.
It's extra brown. If you cook it in a pan, or you cook it at the exact right temperature over the coals, you get those those crispy brown smash burger kind of flavor from it. So anyway, there's more food talk on gear and beer.
Gear and beer and food.
That's okay. It's okay. It's a part of this podcast. I feed every guest that will eat can eat when they come. I think there's only been a few that haven't eaten. I've even fed vegan people. I can do that. I can feed vegan people, even though I do not typically eat vegan myself.
Right. Well, having a well-rounded repertoire is something that every chef and musician should have.
Amen. That's it's good that you bring that up. So many people just find their way into whatever is their thing, and then they just exclude other stuff just because they find their lane, and that's fine. But for me, I need the variety.
Yeah.
I want to play, super Western swingy country stuff, and I want to also play metal riffs and odd meter.
Exactly. I mean,
and everything in between.
I think
white church, black church, you name it.
Yeah, Eric Church.
Eric Church.
Any of them. But the thing about it, and my fiance Lee Cara is an accomplished singer and artist herself, and so we have a lot of fun talking about music. But she has told me that my shuffle button on my phone for my music is a scary thing to do, because you might have Slayer one minute and you might have classic George Jones,
a man of my own heart,
to wartime gypsy jazz or something like that. So, not that I'm an accomplished player at all this stuff by any means, but for some reason my mind sort of just ticks in a way that it goes for variety.
It's good.
I'm with you.
It keeps your brain from getting bored.
Yeah, I agree. And when you have a really full, clean tone, like on a George Jones record or something like that, and then Slayer comes on, you're like, wow, that's like mid-range and treble to the core.
Yeah, just hearing the difference in production and not only like styles of music, but eras of production.
Yes, exactly.
I love all that too, man. I think that what it comes down to, Kyle, is that we're just nerds, man.
Well, that's absolutely true. I'm
okay with it.
I got a new car back in 2018, and before that, I had a 2004 vehicle where we had a CD player and I had a tape deck. So, when I moved to Nashville, I was listening to Brooks and Dunn on tape and like David Allan Coe's greatest hits. There's only 2 cassettes that I owned, so I just would play them back and forth.
Very Georgia of you.
But until I bought my vehicle, I had one of those old school tape things with the little 1/8 inch out that you put in a CD, and I put that in my iPhone.
I still don't really understand how that works, but
I'm
glad that it did.
And it turns, too. That's what's crazy. There's no magnet.
Something about the connection with the tape head inside the cassette.
Yeah, it's just brilliant.
I don't know. Welcome back to I Don't Know Gear and Beer.
Yeah, right. But what I found that I didn't have, the CD player in my new car, I kind of became a little disinterested in what was on the radio of all genres. That's not a specific thing, And,
it became all pretty homogenous at a certain point.
To a certain point, and so a lot of the music
playlists shrunk so much, you know.
So you wind up doing your own playlist that way, and so that's kind of how
I've always I remember listening to the radio back when I was in like middle school and stuff, and waiting for my favorite song to come on and pressing record, and you hear them say that. Coming up, we got blah blah blah, and you're like, "Oh, that's my jam. I need that."
Yeah.
And then you're waiting around, and you're like, and they're just like they're playing everything but your song.
Yeah.
There's a certain nostalgia I have for that, but if I could do without it, I think I would.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we were talking about that the other day on the bus, and how in the blanket statement is the current generation has no attention span.
For sure.
But they were talking about playing songs in the car.
I think it's all generations.
I think so.
In the current moment.
Yeah, especially at the age that we're talking. But
yeah.
But the perspective that I was kind of seeing in there was that the kids of today who are listening to a verse and a chorus and maybe the second chorus and then switching to the next song, it's not really their fault. It's the technology. Back in the day, if you want it like with that tape deck,
it's the whole more.
If I did not want to hear this particular song on this record, either I endure it or I sit there and I hold the button.
And you try to find it. I guess at a certain point they had the automatic that would find the space for you, but those didn't always work.
Yeah, exactly. But and then taking it back even further with vinyl, where you just didn't feel like getting up and going across the room to change the needle. You know? So you had better records as a result because people were more discerning because they had to listen to that shit, nobody wants to listen to filler, and with CD or now with digital where you can just choose which songs you want.
Right.
There really is no such thing as filler anymore, which is a good thing, but you have a lot of things that sort of dumb down the attention span as far as the time, and and some music is perceived a little differently because of the medium.
Yeah, but you're right. It does kind of gear towards more fleeting content, but I still think that most people, first of all, people's attention spans are fleeting in that regard, as you just mentioned. But the ability for dude in his mom's apartment, in a bedroom in his mom's apartment, to be able to throw some headphones on with a computer and a MIDI keyboard. And maybe not even that, maybe just a mouse pad and a piano roll and a GarageBand. They can make something and release it for almost for free on all these digital platforms. So you take the good with the bad. Yeah, there's more, and it's easy to just. It's like, oh, I love this song, and you get excited, and you're like, I wonder what's next. Oh, I love this song. I wonder what's next.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. Everybody's ridden in the car with that guy who's like, check out this song. Second chorus, or maybe second verse, maybe second chorus. And like, check, have you heard this though? It's like, bro, I ain't even heard all this yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of one that, I enjoyed jam band music, especially in college, and I just wanted the jam to go longer. So I'm sort of the opposite. But, as a musician and I'm
a Rush fan. I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah, of course. As a recovering drummer, I'm kind of one that always wanted the, more of it to keep going, because you're just grooving, and what guitar player doesn't want more solos,
Oh, well, we both know a guitar player that wants more solos.
Yeah, for sure.
What, are you doing utility with Martina, or are you just playing steel?
Yeah, I'm doing utility. So when they called me for that, I guess that had been about 7 years ago now, like 2016. I was working with Joe Nichols, and I was mostly just playing steel. I played electric guitar on one song per night, and it was a lot of fun to do, actually. But
he's a great singer.
When they called in, they said, this is like a 40% steel gig, and the rest of it's going to be guitars and mandolins and whatever. And, they said, but the steel parts are tough. These are Paul Franklin parts. And I said, well, I usually am pretty good on those. I'm a big fan of Paul. And so, when we got to talking and everything, I had a meeting with my band leader at my house and just talked over the set list. And when I first showed up, I had 2 electrics, a mandolin. I don't think I had a dobro at that time, but I definitely had a lap steel and then the pedal steel. And so it was a lot at first.
Okay, that's a lot.
And I think my first weekend...
Just figuring out changes alone has got to
take
a few shows at least.
That was the biggest thing for my first weekend.
I guess rehearsals you could figure out. But.
Right. Well, she changed the set list up probably every night. Like the first 3 shows, I think, were all different set lists. Oh. So, I'll make notes and everything, but like you said, you got to get into a rhythm of doing that. But it's a
lot of switching, man.
As it's turned out, I am mostly on steel for probably most shows. I mean, at least half the show.
Yeah.
And then I play lap steel on a song called God-Fearing Women Get the Blues. So I get a chance to kind of, pretend to be Dwayne Allman for a second. So, and then, and I'm third guitar, electric guitar, second electric if I'm chunking rhythm. And so it's a lot more fun to chunk rhythm sometimes than it is to play steel in certain songs. So I'm really, thankful for the opportunity to have that.
Sorry, I'm like shaking this thing all over the place. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, are you playing electric on a couple of things?
I definitely am.
What's the rig look like? How many amps are you carrying, or what are you doing?
So that's another thing is that they were probably one of the earlier adopters of the silent stage.
Okay.
So they've got a pretty elaborate setup. If you do want to bring a tube amp out, I definitely brought out an ISO cab rig for a while, which broke my back, and I just decided that was not worth it anymore. But it sounded great. But we basically will just, whatever your method is, but we'll tap the amp so that it goes into like a hot plate or something like that. Put the load on the amp, and everything is silent. So we've been using the Palmer direct boxes.
Oh yeah.
And I've got to tell you, I don't know the exact model number or name, but it's a blue one for me. And I bought one.
The rack unit or floor box.
So you've got some of those as well, but if you didn't have the hot plate, I would recommend the rack because it will put a load on there as well.
Okay. That tube DI over there is a Palmer, but they don't make it anymore.
Okay, yeah. These are really like super passive. It's actually something cool, like maybe even for downtown you could have as a pass through if for your cabinet or something. But all that to say that my electric guitar used to use one of those, but Fender was really awesome, and I've been trying out one of those Tone Master Deluxe reverbs.
Oh, okay.
So it has the function to be perfectly silent also.
Yeah,
so,
it's just like a XLR out of the back of it, right?
Yeah, and you can turn on the cabinet if you need to. It sounds great even in the cabinet.
I think those sound great, but they don't push air like you expect.
No, and
at the top end.
Like I said, I'm not pushing air at all with the silent stage, and I've just been really excited about how well it's turned out. I did a video shoot with them a while back, and they get us the '68 Twin that I was able to play my Emmons push pull through, and it sounded great, But for something like this, I've gotten so much use out of this particular design.
Really?
I'd love to see Fender put it in a like a rack unit, or shit, even a pedal. Because there's pedal size that.
So are you? You're not taking your little Walter out at all anymore?
At this current moment, because of the little Walter's hand-wired nature, it didn't really get along with some of those load boxes.
Sure.
And, Phil and I took it apart and put a few things in there to kind of
try to counterbalance.
To fight against that. But, it was, and I finally told Phil, I was like, look, this is too important to me in the studio. Like, I just can't. And he understands.
Sure.
But for the steel, I've been using a Kemper. As crazy as it sounds, and it's just like anything with, the aux box just really floored me away a minute ago with the ability to change the cabinets and change all kinds of stuff digitally.
It's a really cool piece of gear.
And it's funny, if I had seen the aux box, I probably would have bought that first. But I just wound up grabbing a Kemper, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it.
Well, I don't think that when the Kemper first started being, or when the Kemper first came about, not when it first started being.
Yeah,
I could have just stopped there.
When it came into being,
when it was indeed and is Evermore. I don't think that aux box was a thing yet.
Yeah, it was definitely predated, but it's a fragile piece of gear probably for the road. I've had a lot of
I don't know,
a lot of good luck.
I don't take it very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably guys out there that have good luck with it. It's all about the road case.
Yeah, for sure, the case and whoever's handling it.
Yeah. And I'm lucky.
Put it in a case, you drop it off the truck. It's not really going to matter that it's in a case.
Exactly.
You might not scuff the Tolex, but you're going to fuck something up.
Yeah.
I take a Kemper on the road too,
yeah.
And I think unless I had somebody to carry,
okay.
Unless I had somebody to carry the amp and stuff for me, and we're doing opening slots. We got to get off stage quick. It's just like if you have a nice sound system and stereo ears, Kemper is great.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's hard to beat the quality of that, like stereo reverb and delay.
Yeah.
And quality, like as long the Michael Britt profiles and all that, like it sounds amazing in a live scenario.
It totally does. And you mentioned Michael Britt, like he was one of the ones that was the first adopters that I knew of. We were joking about my favorite line is Line 6, but he was actually the rep for Line 6. I worked with Lone Star in 2012 for a short time before I switched gigs. And I remember one gig for a Flight 8, he had an iPad. And I said, where's your amp? Did you not backline an amp? It's like, this is my amp. And he was so proud of it. And I remember thinking, you're just the bravest guy I know for like actually putting an iPad and now it's like a totally normal thing, But when he introduced me to the Kemper, he was definitely, he's a tone junkie. So I knew anything that he was going to come out with was going to be great. He actually did my Pro Reverb.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I probably use
Pro
it.
Reverb in there.
You have a 65?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
December 65.
That's what I don't know what year. I think we've probably gone through that before, but
maybe
that's definitely what you just tracked through was a 65.
It's
Pro
a great
Reverb.
looking amp and great sounding amp too. Gosh.
I love that thing. What speakers are in you? You got the original speakers?
It's got the originals. I think they're the blue Oxfords.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The ones that I had were jacked up and like dry rotted. Dean at WGS tried to fix them, but I mean he made them functional, but he was like, you're not going to like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was right.
And, that's the great thing about quality gear, and speakers have a life. They're paper, for God's sake. But, with a good Fender amp, in my case, in your case, I have my twin and a head cab. So I take it into, like if I came over here, you would throw my cab in one of these closets and we could tweak to our heart's content out here. I love that setup.
Totally. Yeah.
For overdubs especially, but
I don't like combos, but that's just sometimes that's what you end up with.
I had too many output transformers fall out and tubes in the bottom of even in cases, because those things I've watched guys like use them as a boogie board going down hills and stuff. It's like, dude, there's a vintage Fender in there, man. Come on,
you got to think they're also sitting in the trailer that's bouncing up and down the horrendous roads that pave this nation.
So, as great as we had some especially bad ones going on.
I've been sleeping in the back of a Sprinter every now and again, and these roads be throwing me into the top of the bunk.
It's more like
it feels
splinter.
like when you're riding to the top of the roller coaster.
Yeah. Click, 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 click.
It's great.
When you're back in Tennessee.
Deer and beer.
So what about? I know you do a lot of sessions. Are you flying people tracks? Do you have a home setup?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. We were just talking about you. Needing the functionality of the mic arm.
This wonderful boom arm. When I started doing the internet overdub thing, like, and this probably was just in my head from being a kid, but like, I kind of felt like it was like the only if you could only get overdub sessions from your house, like you weren't quite a real session player yet, And then I found out that so-and-so A-list guy did so-and-so amazing steel part for the person I was playing with from their house. And so I realized, like, okay, like this is a real competitive thing, and like I need to take this seriously. So, I used Pro Tools for many years, and I upgraded my whole rig in 2020, and it's nothing fancy. I mean, all you really need as a steel player is, a couple of good Audio Technicas like this is a perfect place for me. The banjo or the steel, or not the steel, excuse me, the dobro.
Yeah.
Any of the acoustic stuff.
Speaking of dobro, we're gonna have you pick that thing up.
Yeah,
in a minute.
yeah. I brought my dobro with me today, but
I digress. I apologize.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is, I've got a closet that's in a spare bedroom, and you treat it pretty well, and you get a good tone coming off the amp.
How did you treat it?
Right now, it's a combination of some foam similar to what you have there. My main room needs a couple of these, actually, so we might need to talk about the process of getting a couple of those.
Old Grandpa Sovine.
Yeah, well, Grandpa Sovine has a lot of cool stuff.
He sure does.
Yeah. But it's funny you bring him up. The last record I remember us doing together, live tracking, was at Brad Hill's place.
Yeah, his old place, right?
His old place,
the basement spot,
the flood magnet. I'm afraid to say, But Sovine and I did a record there back in like 2009 together with one of my dear friends, Don Gallardo.
Did you guys arm wrestle for who played steel?
No, I played steel on it all, and he played some slide parts and electric guitar, of course.
Sure.
But it's just, being from that era where there was still like Ryan Adams, and then there was country music. There wasn't as much of an Americana scene like it has flourished in the last 10 years, which is amazing.
The festival going on this week.
Exactly, it is. But it was just really fun to see what we were doing in the studios. A bunch of 20-something-year-olds.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew's a great guy.
He is a great guy. I digressed, which people that have ever listened to this podcast knows happens about once every sentence or so. You were talking about your home
For sure.
setup.
So biggest thing is just to deaden the space, And if you like an echoey thing, we've all got a hallway or a
everybody's got a verb and a slap, baby,
for sure,
or a plug-in.
But I've got a space similar to what you have here that I'm currently renovating, and so at that point I might just drill floor in the overdub / office area, and just have everything else, drums and everything down there, kind of like you have here. But it's just really nice to be able to be it almost reminds me of being in my bedroom when I was 13 and playing drums in my bedroom, having a drum kit against the wall, of having everything in a bedroom-like situation with all of my instruments right there, emails there, everything's just happening, coffee, all this stuff, and it just feels like I'm in an office, and
you are.
And it is. It's my office, and so I don't mind the cramped space. It's not cramped, but it's
I just think of it like it's like a cockpit. It's like you need a pilot has all these different instruments that he needs access to. Quite literally, so does a musician have all these different instruments that they need access to, and
so it makes it really
sense.
Really easy. I'll be working on 2 or 3 artists at one time, really. Depending on.
Are you a Mac
schedules.
or are you a PC guy?
Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you were running Pro Tools. Are you? Did you move to? What's it called?
So I'm on Luna. Actually.
Yeah, Luna. I wanted to say Aura, but I knew that was wrong. That's a Fishman pickup.
Yeah. But which is great too. The Jerry Douglas Aura is like a dobro lifesaver for the record. Yeah. If you hate feedback from a microphone on a dobro, buy one of those pedals. It's like a lifesaver.
Dope.
But yeah, getting back to that, I went with the Apollo, the X8P, I think it is. The 8 channel. And those get along really great with the Mac, and they come with a software. I had the smaller one at first. I can't maybe remember the name of it.
The Duo.
The Duo, yeah, or the Twin maybe.
Okay.
It was the Twin.
It was
the Twin.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of different versions of the Twin, right? MK2 Duo, or
so they have there's an MK1, MK2, and then
mine was MK2, I
believe. The name after
one, right?
the Twin, the name after the Twin is basically how many cores. So there's a Twin Duo that has 2, and then a Twin Quad that has expanded DSP.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's a pretty powerful unit.
Very,
honestly.
yeah.
But since I have my rack unit set up in the studio, and I don't really go, I mean, I have an iMac, so I'm not taking that on the road or anything. I went ahead and just invested in a rack mount unit that was kind of something I could grow into, or at least just have as a stock thing.
Well, and it's even as many instruments as you play, you can just have zones set up and mics run, and you don't have to set it up each time. Whenever if you need to play mandolin, you swivel 40 degrees and you play mandolin. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's another thing that is important if anybody is looking for tips on their home studio, is that you don't have to have a big space, but it needs to be functional, and everything needs to be hooked up.
Utilitarian, efficient.
Yeah.
Like I'm the
it
same
needs to
way.
Be ready,
I have like MIDI keyboard to my left, monitor, and an M1, and then to my right is a vocal mic and my guitars.
That's perfect.
And and then amps behind me.
Yeah, and you can just that's even more like a cockpit than I was thinking. I mean, you're like sitting there flying the plane.
There's not a lot of options in my room.
Yeah, well, there. but that's made it easy to get really comfortable with my rig. And so, if somebody needs something turned around, I mean, if I've got time to go chart it and record,
do you have you got a cabinet in a closet?
Yeah, I keep
the little Walter in there.
I keep the little Walter as a head out there for everything. I'll have a Twin, a little Walter, got a Maserati. The two knob Maserati, and Fender Deluxe, which is actually a bookshelf currently in my studio. It had one of the old particle board baffles, and I was unable to remove the speaker from it, so I ruined the speaker and the baffle all in one fell swoop. But both were garbage, so it doesn't matter. And so what it wound up being is an end table / bookshelf in my studio.
But it's not just the old chassis.
Yeah, but it's in the cabinet.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's in the cabinet. So picture it without the speaker, having just books stacked up there, right?
Oh, but the cabinet's still, or the head's still functional?
Hey, man, if you go flip the switch, the light comes on, you can plug it in. That's awesome. So that's kind of fun,
That's awesome.
There's 11 amps hidden in the room in various places of just,
I love your
little champs.
I love your musical mystery room.
Yeah, that's nice. But one thing I got recently, which this is not something that I offer as an overdub or anything like that. I mean, my overdubs are lap steel, pedal steel, dobro, mandolin, that kind of stuff. But
banjo.
Well, in the
banjo,
it is a banjo, but I tune the top. I tune the top like a banjo.
If you're not standing in a bluegrass circle and somebody's asking you to fly them tracks, who cares?
If somebody in a bluegrass circle heard me play this thing, they would kick me out immediately. So
well,
it doesn't.
And you know what?
Matter.
That's a whole different. That's just a whole different thing.
Putting the utility in utilitarian.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. Is how many things can. Does it sound good on the recording?
Right.
Yes. Cool. Who cares?
And actually, it's funny. One of my favorite things I ever played is something that our friend Martin McDaniel has. I think it's "Welcome to Nashville." That little banjo part at the front. I played that part, and it was like, man, that's cool. Because I didn't think about. Yeah.
I don't know if he plays that song anymore.
Yeah, right? I wonder who I can talk to about getting royalties off of Martin for that.
You have to talk to Wright.
Yeah, I bet Wright.
You have to call him. Give Nolan a call.
Yeah, those guys would make it happen.
I've tried to get Martin on this podcast a couple of times, and one time his wife, she had a baby or something.
Oh yeah, well that'll happen.
The other time, I don't remember, something ridiculous happened to me.
Oh.
Maybe a dog surgery. Who's to say?
Well,
which one?
Yeah, which one? That's a good point. There's been 2. Yay. Yeah. So, man, so you're converting your basement. This place was finished when I moved in here a couple months ago, and still trying to figure it out. It's functionality, and I was trying to explain to the fiance. She's like, "Why do you have your stuff set up in the middle of the room?" That's exactly how she sounds. And I'm just like, well, I'm just trying to I just want to be able to spin my chair around and grab a guitar, which I can. I have drums over there. Then I don't have them mic'd up at this moment. Yeah. And I just did this last night. So I've been gone so much that I haven't had time to do anything.
Hey, it's just good to be busy, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I'm behind schedule.
Yeah.
We took a lot of 3, I think maybe 4 months off from this podcast, and it's just because I just didn't have time to get it all set up, you know.
It's good to be back at it then.
It is good, and I appreciate you christening the new space.
Yeah, man.
It's christening, and now it is glistening. Trademark. That's trade? Is that how you do that?
I believe it is.
You just say trademark after something, and you own it, right?
You just run it up the flagpole. The people do what they do, and then it's yours.
Exactly.
You know,
simple.
Short flagpole in this organization.
So, turn it the wrong way. Why don't you pick up that? We mentioned the dobro before. You brought pick it up and just tell me all the things. You know what I want to know as a person of interest.
Yeah, man. Well, being a steel player, you know how much effort it is to break one down and set one up. I'm used to it. I've done it thousands of times. But when you said to bring gear, I figured it'd be cool to bring something a little easier to bring in the door and also just a little different, But this right here is a 19. I want to say.
Hold it. I can't play it.
I want to say 1936 dobro model 37. So it's a dobro brand, dobro. And I don't exactly know what my reasoning was, but I went in Gruen's one day, and I'd looked at Carter as well. I do a lot of business with them, and they just always have good stuff coming through. But I went by Gruen one day on my way home on 8th Avenue, and I just saw this thing. And my uncle has, let me use a Model 37 for many years. It's what I played on Jake Owen's song, Barefoot Blue Jean Night.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too once you picked that up.
But they could almost be twins, but this one's mine. So I got a little family photo before I returned the other one back to my uncle who let me borrow it, and then he's since returned it back to me. So it's back,
that's awesome.
And I keep one tuned to something different. But just going by Gruen's one day, and I saw this thing on the window.
That poor thing just going home to home.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
but it's just hanging on the wall there, and I looked and I saw the price. And when you're talking about a 1930s Martin, you're talking about something that's more than a luxury car, more than a house in some cases.
You're going to take out a loan probably, or be independently wealthy.
Independently wealthy. You're not going to be a player, that's for sure.
Yeah,
that's right.
So the great thing about dobros is that they're just not as sought after by the general public, and so the price was right on this thing. And so I didn't have my picks with me, and at that time I was real.
Do you have your picks with you today?
I do. They're
hell yeah,
right here. But so I said, strings probably aren't the right gauge. I just made up a few reasons to leave, and I said, hey, how long has that thing been there? And they said, about 2 weeks. I said, really? Nobody's taking it? Okay. I said, I'm gonna be back tomorrow. Please don't sell it. So came back the next day with the picks, and with nickel strings on it and a little bit light gauge. I went into a little room and I sat down and I don't know, it was probably 30 seconds, and mentally inside my head I said, well, you can sit here and play it as long as you like, but you're gonna fucking buy the thing. Pardon my language.
No, you can say whatever you want, bro.
But it was exactly what I was looking for.
Sorry. Sorry, I was just trying to prove a point. I didn't mean to celebrate it.
But it wound up being something that I've been looking for, and like I said, price was right, and I've used this on pretty much every dobro thing I've done ever since.
Do you play it live?
I don't have a pickup in it.
Oh, okay.
But I really would like to. I feel what do you think about that? Like, if you've got a really nice vintage instrument that doesn't have a pickup,
it depends on how invasive the installation of the pickup is. Yeah. I would say for an acoustic instrument.
Okay. in this situation,
Have you thought about trying like a piezo on it or something?
Well, getting back to the Aura thing from Fishman, the Jerry Douglas pickup system from Fishman is great too. It actually replaces the saddles, so it's really efficient.
Interesting.
So I would take it out and play it more often, but it probably means it wouldn't get the care that it deserves for the studio. Yeah. So I'm kind of inclined to leave it like it is. But
well, so what do you play live?
Live, actually. Are
you playing dobro live?
With Martina, I'm not always playing dobro.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that. I'm
gonna make you play that here in just a second.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna adjust the mic.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just kind of hold it up so people can take a look at it. But if you see right there, that's right where you would grab it out of the case.
Sure.
Somebody really liked this guitar and really put a lot of care into taking care of it. It looks like it's banged up, of course, but like for a 80-something-year-old
No, it's not banged up, bro. It's
in
just
good shape.
Lived, man. It's lived.
Right there where you're
80-year-old instrument.
So it's.
Or wait, you said 30s?
1936.
Yeah, that's a almost 90-year-old instrument. That's lived, bro.
When you're looking for inspiration in the studio, for me that's where I turn is the way a tube amp sounds when when you push the standby switch on, if it's
all the little tactile things about
the switches,
the process.
Yeah. There was we were doing a show in a theater this past weekend, and it was the same as like a UA console knob, like that black sort of like angular or like hexagonal knob with the big white just straight line up. And I was fascinated with the knob because I remember what the gear, what it feels like on the gear. You know what I mean? And like a switch on an amp or a switch on a steel guitar for me, it's just something that's like, yes, it's just something to fidget with when you're trying to think.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is.
No, I see that. I totally get that.
But something of quality as well, And so I don't know, just popping something like that, like turning a knob on or something like that, looking for inspiration in your gear. It's not hard to find it when you have something like this.
Well, show us, man.
Yeah,
pull out
let me
that
grab this stuff.
Yeah, everybody just listen quietly.
I'm
just gonna kind of.
I would probably just put it like right above there, and it'll be fine. I'll figure out where my picks are. Pixar.
Yeah, if you need me to grab something for you too.
No, actually, I see them now.
Okay.
They were hiding in plain sight.
For those listening, we've we're breaking out picks and bars. Is that hot gain? I can just lift it as opposed to adjusting the gain.
No, I can adjust gain. Keep it where it sounded good where it was.
Close enough for country.
Country. All you need 3 chords in the truth.
4 chords and a lie.
Man, there's so much clarity in it. You can hear everything.
I was just going to say,
evenly.
It's not like exceptionally clanky either. There's a lot of that, like, just bright metal noise you hear in a lot of recordings. That's mellow as all get out.
Yeah, and I've got pretty heavy strings on that. I've got like a 17 for this D note.
Play just a little bit more and I'll move your mic back.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, just show us the range of the instrument. That's thick and delicious, I think they would say.
Thank you. Thanks, Ro.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a natural compression to it.
It's just the lack of harshness, or just like in general the 15K range of stuff coming off of that kind of an instrument with all the different metal involved.
Right.
That's really interesting. That's so warm and balanced.
And the thing about it,
are they old strings?
Those are old strings,
okay,
for sure.
That helps, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's unintentional. I'll be honest. It sounds great with fresh strings. But,
I'm sure.
But it sounds nice and bluesy.
I'm sure
like
it's a little honkier with some fresh strings.
Oh yeah. If you want that little like thing with the bar, which is another thing that you find on records that really like pushes through the mix. And people love that. Players I know have been doing that forever, but just shaking that bar to the point where it's like you're polishing a shoe or something. It's about like that kind of thing, and it just creates a lot of tension.
It's like a soundscape.
Mm-hmm. It does create kind of that sort of
a cinematic. It's like you're looking through your synths, and you're like, oh, cinematic.
Yeah, cinematic, exactly what I'm going for. Add some delay, and then you're just
am I right?
in the
Who's
universe. So anyway, it's a really versatile instrument, and so it's it's something I was happy to add to the collection.
You brought a lap steel too, right?
Yeah, I think it's over there in the corner.
Lyndon, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Let's pause for a second and let's hook that up.
Okay. Yeah.
You are listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Want to take your home cooking to the next level? Need new recipe ideas or meal inspiration? Like, follow, and subscribe to Bobby Jam's Kitchen on YouTube and Instagram at Bobby Jam's Kitchen. Cook your food and eat it.
Okay, so we stopped down and we got the lap steel out here. So tell us a little bit.
Well, I think I'll let it talk to you first, and then I'll maybe
let's do that.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So, I just got this in open E tuning, so we'll just kind of make something off on the fly.
Yeah, play some sounds. What else can you say?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, now mute that.
Turn that shit off.
Turn that shit down.
Here, I got the volume off now.
Rob, every time we play Sweet Home Alabama, Rob always goes, turn it off.
If only we could. But yeah, this was another, not really an impulse buy. It's actually got a nice
input jack looks precarious.
Yeah, well, I would think, and there'd probably
you could kill that amp, Lyndon, if you don't mind.
There'd probably be somebody that knows more than me, but a lot of these old lap steels had a pre-wired jack with a cable that came out, and it was part of it. You could take the cable off, but you couldn't. These didn't exist, you know.
Yeah, sure.
So that might be left over from that, and you want it on the player's side because Gibson didn't want to see the imperfection of the thing in front.
That makes total sense to me.
Nice look.
Yeah.
Aesthetics are important.
Oh, for sure.
And a finely crafted item.
Yeah. So
we can all agree on that.
This is I think it's a 1938 Gibson EH 150 lap steel, and so you can see it's got the script logo there. In abalone. And then what's kind of neat about the tuners, it's got all the original tuners but one.
Oh, really?
And they're all 1930s Grovers.
Is this the new one?
That's the new one, and it's a 1950s Waverly. Oh. Which is kind of cool, you know?
Bro, that's so new.
Yeah, so new.
How dare you?
But this is actually a triple bound. So, you know, you got single, double bind, and, you know, some of the maybe Gibson custom Les Pauls had triple bind.
I'm not
sure.
I don't know that I've ever heard triple bound before today.
So that would be just a lot more material, as you can see.
Yeah.
But this is the Type 2 or version 2 Charlie Christian pickup.
Oh, okay.
And from what I gather, it's original. If somebody knows more about the electronics, they would be able to tell me. But I got this from Retrofret.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah, right in. But no, actually, I got this from Retrofret. I think they're in New York. Might have made that up, though. Sorry, Retrofret. They have like some of the best stuff that I've seen. And I was lucky to grab this thing. But this is the first really nice lap steel that I'd bought that would really go all the way up to the 24th fret there and still be clear and clean.
Yeah, you know? it was definitely that just now.
It's, you know, and I granted we had an overdriven tone there and it was really, really bright.
Do you run it into a pedal into your little Walter? Is that what's your tracking signal path for like that kind of dirty vibe we just had?
For the dirty vibe, I mean the little Walter would work great because I've got the little Walter 50 and it's actually what's called the 1250. I think there's only like 3 of them. It's just a little bit bigger transformer from what I gather. Okay. It's the 2-knob 50 watt. But, you know, if you have the ability to push those, and, you know, when you do put a load on those things and go direct, which, you know, like I said, we decided that was something that didn't really need to happen with those amps for the health of the amp.
Yeah.
But I would run the 50 watt little Walter on 70%. So that'd be like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so you get all, and no pedals. You know, just get all that overdrive out of the amp and dial it back if you need it. It's so much fun. You know?
I think that the pedal only exists because diming amps isn't always an option.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the great thing about the aux, too, is that you can really get the tone out of the amp.
That was just the EF86 version or side of the matchless C30.
Yeah.
What speaker did we have it in? There was some verb on that cab, too, right?
To my knowledge, it's just a deluxe, so maybe
is it the Verby one? Yeah. Oh, it's a Verb. Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys switched it. Is there a Verb on there?
Yeah, so I took your 412 Greenie preset and just changed the cabinet to that 112 deluxe. So
wait, so there's Verb on that preset?
No, I put Verb on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a little plate Verb, and then we put 300 millisecond delay on there.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It was great. It was super wet and thick sounding.
Yeah. And you know, I don't really use a lot of reverb live. You know, I mean, there's some stuff on the Martina set if it's a very ballady kind of thing, or if I've got like a little, you know, trill or something where I need to make noise. A lot of delay and reverb helps. You know,
totally.
But you know, when I track, unless the engineer has a great reverb that he wants to put on there, I usually just do delay. You know, either in time with the song for some of that long, you know, ethereal whale call type stuff.
Yeah,
and it's fun to play with rhythm when you have a quarter note going. You know,
yeah.
There's fun little things, especially if you're doing a gliss from, you know, one position to the other. Well, they'll kind of just
doing like the Daniel Lanois thing.
Sure, and Dan Dugmore is the other person that I learned all that from. They both have similar, you know, approaches, of course. But you know, it's a pretty good stock studio trick, I think, to have that 300 milliseconds or 100 millisecond slapback for the faster ones, you know. But you know, live, I think the PA engineer is probably going to know better than me if it needs reverb.
Sure.
You know, so I usually give them that option.
Well, and you know, everybody prefers different. Some dudes want you to do whatever you hear, and they'll work with that. Other dudes want you to give them the driest signal you can possibly muster playing with. And
yeah,
I think that the answer lies probably somewhere in between the two of those.
For sure.
The compromise, I guess, as it were.
So, like in the studio, you were asking about what rig I would choose for this, and it is probably going to be different than my pedal steel rig.
I would imagine.
The good thing about a pickup like this is you can kind of be a little more guitar friendly. You can go do exactly what we did, go straight into a matchless, and it's going to be great. With pedal steels, there are great pickup makers out there that have the right impedance to do that, and it's just such a chore for me personally with my guitars to switch pickups out that I have an efficient pickup. I've got Bill Lawrence blade pickups, or 710 and 705 are the steel guitar pickups. One is a blade, one is a pole piece, but both have a similar output, like 28,000 ohms.
Okay.
And that's what's 6 or 8 coming off of these, maybe. Yeah. I don't know what guitar pickups always have. But
I didn't even know that the shit was that different.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just such powerful pickups because you're doing such a broad range of tones, and pitches as well.
Yeah.
So in order to represent those in the cleanest way possible, it's just higher fidelity. I don't know.
Sure.
Bill Lawrence is probably one of the best pickup manufacturers ever, and so it was his creation. And,
interesting.
But yeah, so choosing a different pickup is what I'm getting at. Where something like this, you're going to be able to really dig in. I was using finger picks a second ago, but just with your bare fingers, you can get the best blues, old school slide kind of tone out of this if that's your style. It's not my style personally. But if you had a little bottleneck and bare fingers, you can get something out of this that would be more akin to Delta blues or something.
Sure.
Man,
speaking of fingers and tone, do you know, was it Mike Seals?
Yeah.
Mike Seal, yeah.
Mike Seal?
Mike Seal, that's another fellow. But yes, I'm familiar with him as well.
I've been following him for just a minute, but Carter recently released a couple of videos of him playing.
Yeah, that's probably where I saw him.
Holy shit, bro.
Dude, yeah, holy finger
just like
style
tone
shit.
And pocket and he's just one of those, he's not like noodling, he's like playing he's playing something.
He's saying something.
Do what?
I'm sure he's saying something. With
No, he did not sing. Oh,
just with his music
playing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I heard singing.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at hearing. Well, that's awesome, man.
For sure.
That thing sounds great. A
lot of fun.
I want one of those too.
Yeah. Take a little check out if you like.
Can I have that?
It's funny
Lyndon,
you say
can I
that.
give you this?
It's funny you say that because you actually do have one of my guitars.
That's true.
It's staring at me over here.
Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah.
That's the baritone featured in the intro music for this podcast.
Very cool. I like it. Yeah, it's kind of a Frankenstein.
You built that guitar. I forgot about it.
I didn't personally build it, but I think I was the one that bought it first.
Oh, okay.
From the guy that
I know that Martin got it from you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I need to pay him for that guitar.
He probably never paid me for it, so you can just pay me.
Deal.
I've actually used that guitar on
I will
some
give you the
records.
$16 on your way out.
But yeah, it's a super cool thing. You got the 6 different tone selectors and all that.
Do you know what pickups those are?
I don't.
I like the way it plays. I don't love the pickups. They're pretty dark.
And it's probably intended for a regular Dan Electro.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You probably could get a better sounding setup for that tuning.
Man,
what tuning do you have it in?
It's in B.
B, nice.
I have used it in A. It's not set up for A, and sometimes I'll play in C. But I leave it in B just for the sake of the neck.
Yeah.
Because I think they're medium light string, just a little bit heavier.
Sure.
Maybe that's part of the problem with the honkiness of the pickups as well. But,
yeah.
Well, what kind of time am I looking at over there, McCarty?
You've got 17.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I was just wondering want to make sure I had time for questions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I got a bunch of stupid ass questions that I want to ask you that we ask everybody, and it's fun or you'll hate it, and I don't care.
I've probably got stupider answers than you have questions.
Well,
so I'm game for it.
That is a challenge accepted, sir.
Hey, before you start, what was the year of that dobro? And it's dobro? It's not Regal?
It's a dobro brand, but I don't know the history as well as I should, but Regal built Dobros and Regals back in the 30s, so it all overlaps. I mean, somebody could look at this and know a little better.
Okay.
I think this is what they would call a California body, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. So Dobro, California.
It could be Chicago.
Okay.
You could take a look at the logo
okay
afterward, and maybe we can kind of analyze.
I'll go hunt it down. We like to leave
era
links and stuff for people just so they can check out the gear.
Yeah,
like
I try to put as many as I can remember.
Yeah, and it was at Gruen's. I'll have to maybe go back and look for my paperwork on it.
Oh yeah.
But
find that case candy, son.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's ask you. So a lot of these are like either or. Some of them are short answer, but most of them are like deciding between things that no one should ever have to decide between.
Fair enough.
And the first one, as always, is Metallica or Megadeth.
Metallica.
Miles or Coltrane.
Miles.
Metheny or Schofield.
Ooh. That's a tough one, actually. I'm going to go Schofield.
There's no wrong choices in most of these.
That's not a big part of my inspiration, and that tells me it probably should be. So I've got some homework to do for them.
I mean,
I've got a couple of Pat Metheny records for sure.
They're so wide of
to me, there's good
material.
Metheny and Pat. There's good Metheny and bad Metheny.
And,
sure.
And you know what? No one can decide on which is which, but it's such a wide swath of work that they can't possibly have one person other than him that likes all of it.
Sure. And then Schofield, I was introduced to, by some of my jam band buddies, and so people who's was
that Uber Jam or what was it called?
Well, he did Medeski, Martin and Wood records
for sure, and those are some of my
that was for a lot of
records.
people. That first record he did with them is so killer.
Yeah,
from the late '90s.
Late '90s, early 2000s.
A Go-Go, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, A Go-Go. Yeah, that's the record.
That's his record that he did with him, right?
It's Medeski, Schofield, Martin, and Wood. I think is the way that they like mixed up the names. I think
if the record we're talking about is A Go-Go, that's billed as Schofield.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess at the end of the day, you can't really lose on that one.
But I think he's like at least cameoed on.
Oh, you ain't lying.
Before.
You're right.
I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care that I'm right so much as that we
care.
know what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But they did have Medeski, Schofield, Martin, and Wood.
Yeah, I remember that as well. I remember it being. I don't remember it.
Oh yeah, they had Out Louder was the first one from that group.
Oh, okay.
That was like the one that came, and that was 2006. So A Go-Go was probably like late 90s.
Yeah.
Because there was a hot minute before the next record came out.
Very close to the year 2000.
Are we gonna do the Conan bit?
No.
In the year 2000.
No, I'm just gonna look it up.
I saw where Conan and Brad Paisley have teamed up.
98.
Yeah.
98.
Oh well, there you go.
Nailed it.
Conan and Brad Paisley.
They've teamed up somehow, but that's all the information I have on that.
My buddy Dusty Gregg posted a video of Brad demoing one of his guitars recently.
Is that his government name? Dusty Gregg?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a nickname?
His real name is James Gregg, but everybody calls him Dusty because his dad's name is James also.
Okay.
There you go.
When I met him, he was teching for Josh Abbott band and building amps, and now he builds guitars for Vince Gill and Brad Paisley and freaking Conan O'Brien. They all have one of his guitars, or in Brad's case and Vince's case, I think they have several.
That's right.
Butler had one for a minute. Rob Music's getting one built by him.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Boo's got one. Alex Whedon's got one. A bunch of people got some Gregg guitars. But he used to build great amps, too. He just doesn't build them anymore. He's
interesting.
Into building guitars.
Does he put benders in his guitars for the most part?
He went and learned from Glazer how to do the Glazer benders. So,
Really?
yes, he puts the Glazer benders in
if
you want them.
There may be some kind of, structural reason this wouldn't work, but I've always wanted a Strat with a bender in it. I wonder if the belly cutout prevents the mechanics from working right, but I suppose maybe you could just eliminate that cut. But
you could get a hardtail Strat and do it.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely want.
It's not quite the same sound or feel, but it's close.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder for some of those neck pickup and type sounds where you might use something with a lower register, like maybe even a G bender. Having something. Just
I don't have a bender, and I've talked to Forrest a couple of times about putting one in my American standard Highway 1 that I have, 20-year-old guitar, but it's my E flat guitar. Yeah. And it sounds really good in E flat, so I kind of just want to leave it as an E flat guitar.
Yeah, I believe in letting guitars and amps do what they're supposed to do. Let them be who they are,
And you'll find guitars where you're like, this is my play live, do everything guitar.
Exactly.
And those guitars are versatile in the studio as well. My PRS is one of the most versatile guitars I have. It's bright Rigs of Dad blue, but it's amazing, man. Every time I play it, I got these Klein pickups in it. They're PAFs, non-wax potted poles, and they're real live and they're real clear. And I can play chicken picking, or I can play super high gain overdrive, or I can get a blues neck Strat sound, and they're humbuckers, man. It's just
awesome.
All kind of crazy different tones that it offers. I was about to get rid of it. I put all kind of different pickups in it, and I've always loved the way it played, and I just couldn't get the sound right. And I put those in there. I was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for all these years. My next question for you, Kyle. Moving right along. David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Man, I hate to say it, but David Lee Roth.
I don't think there's anything to hate.
No, I mean I love Sammy, but David Lee Roth was my era.
I love Van Hagar as well, man. They had a great the Balance record. That's a great record. The Twister song, give me a break. Vi or Satriani?
Oh, Vi all day.
Correct.
Although I heard something great about Satriani, that he was still giving lessons to Kirk Hammett, well into Metallica recording records.
Oh, I believe that,
and that's kind of cool.
And I love Kurt. A lot of people talk shit about all the popular guys.
Yeah, well,
I love Kurt's guitar playing. Everybody else that talks shit can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
And you know what? To compound on that,
tell us more, Rob.
Well, everybody hears it. Everybody's got something bad to say or good to say about somebody as popular as Metallica,
right?
And Kirk Hammett. I bet he cries all the way to the bank with his songwriting royalties from Inner Sandman, which I believe he's 100% on. Picked a good one.
Damn.
Yeah. But I can sing to you every guitar part that I've ever lived with his, from at least the first 7 records, all the solos. Say what you will about his technique, they're creative and it serves the music. So to all you haters. Excuse me as I step down off my Metallica.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And you know what's even funnier? I think I picked Megadeth over Metallica in that question. Yngwie or James Burton?
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
Speaking of Metallica, that question is the thing that should not be.
I gotta go James Burton because he and Ralph.
You're wrong.
He and Ralph Mooney had a great record that I used to listen to as a young steel player that really got me going. So.
Yngwie is fine for 10 minutes, and then I want to listen to James Burton. John Petrucci or Paul Gilbert?
Oh man, I gotta go Paul Gilbert.
Great answer. Yeah. I always forget about this every time, and it makes me laugh. This question is simply, it's a typo, but it's the best one ever. And the question is Geddy Lee or Geddy Lee?
Yes.
Correct answer. Jazz or metal?
Metal.
Live or session?
Session.
Single coil or humbucker? Actually, if I were to read the question verbatim, I would say to single coil or humbucker. Humbucker.
Wow. Humbuckler.
Humbuckler. Very nice.
Humbuckler.
Ronald McDonald.
But because of the previous answer with studio, I go with a humbucker. I've got a '67 Emmons Singleton bolt-on, just a great steel guitar that came with the original single coil, and a couple of my good friends strongly cautioned me against removing that pickup, and it was just unusable for me in my line of work. So I took it out, and I still have it. Put the Bill Lawrence in there, and everything's good.
Is there?
And it still
do I have an
sounds great.
Emmons in my steel?
You have the Georgia L Emmons 66. So
Okay.
that the E66 is what your model is, and that's meant to basically sound like what an Emmons sounded like in 1966 or 1967 in my case.
I'm a steel guitar owner, and admittedly so.
No, those are great pickups. Yeah, it's industry standard.
Where am I at here? Volume pedal or volume knob?
Yeah, volume pedal.
Okay.
But on electric guitar, I have to say that I do use the volume like a traditional player would. So I'm just, as a steel player, I'm a little more versed in that.
And so, the follow up question is before or after gain, and in steel, obviously, it's before.
It is. Where I learned that Eric Johnson was crazy in a good way. I used to do a gig at the Fiddle and Steel Guitar Bar, and I had this Keeley modded TS-808, and I think I spent like nearly $300 on it. It was like a lot of money to spend for
back in the day.
Yeah, it was crazy.
If it was back in the time to Fiddle and Steel, that was back in the day a little bit.
It was way back in the day. But back in those days, I would run it before the volume pedal so that I could just set the gain wherever I wanted, and the gain would stay the same, and my volume would just go up and down. Which for a steel player is kind of what you want.
Working it like a preamp.
Right. You don't necessarily want it to clean up when you dial back on steel. Like if you're doing an overdriven thing, you want it to kind of stay consistent.
Sure.
So during one of those gigs, I noticed it sounded just flat amazing, and 2 songs later, it died on me. And so there's something to that battery sag thing. I mean, granted, I don't know if the switches and all that stuff, that's maybe to be debated by somebody.
They make power supplies now where you can set. I know that pedal power back in the day had an approximation of that.
Yeah.
I
So
think
there's something to it.
I think they make devices now where you can like really sag.
I've got a power supply where it's got a sag knob, so you can choose the I guess it would be voltage.
My pedal power has that on 2 of the channels.
Yeah.
But I feel like it doesn't have that like just dead. It's kind of like it's here and it's gone. And there's no in between. It's kind of like a weird notch in the pod or something.
So, but to answer the question, afterwards in almost every case.
Okay. Fair enough. Do you use compression live when you're not in any of your endeavors?
I do on the Kemper actually. I feel like it kind of helps mimic the speaker.
Do you put it on the front or on the back?
I'm trying to think how it's set. I think it's set up like in the stomp box section of the Kemper.
Okay.
There's multiple places for compression on a Kemper. So if you click on the input tab, there's I believe compression there. If you click on the amp, there's compression on the amp, and then in the pedal slots, you can put compression in any of those slots.
Yeah, and that's the one that I have kind of dialed up so that I can change parameters and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I have a TC Nova system that I use before my Fender Deluxe that has they call it advanced compression.
Those Nova era pedals were great, man.
They're
Nova
really
delay,
useful, very useful, and the Nova delay is one of my favorites. It sounds just like the super rare 2290 rack mount units. And when I moved to town, man, that was the 2290 with 300 millisecond delay.
Yeah, man.
That was pop country. And if you wanted it to sound like the record, throw that on there on a Nova delay downtown, and
Dude, I still got my Nova delay somewhere. I got to dig that thing up.
Oh, I've broken at least 2 of them. Yeah, I've gone through at least 2 or 3 of them in my life. So.
Gear and beer.
So my next question is, my first question is, do you play bass?
I do play bass.
Okay. Well, then my next question is jazz or precision?
I've got a really great jazz bass that I got from my buddy Mike Mike Childers, great friend, but Michael Jeffers is what I was trying to say, and it's kind of a like early '60s kind of vibe, and I love it. 4-string.
I want a 4-string jazz a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people come on here, and I have a P that I play most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to pick, I think I pick a jazz.
That's awesome.
Super weird. And maybe I'm just an idiot. So, my next question is, do you know who John Paul Jones is?
Of course.
Okay. A lot of people don't. And this question here, it says, JPJ Awareness Month in April. So this is an old question. Mm-hmm. But I encountered several people who did not know who that was. So now I'm asking everyone.
Wow.
Anyone that does not know who John Paul Jones is, he is the bass player for Led Zeppelin and one of the more unsung heroes of rock and roll history.
One of the best musicians of rock and roll history.
His parts make no sense and all of the sense all at the same time, and they are completely independent from anything that any other instrument is doing, and one of the most creative ways I've ever heard anyone do anything musically. What's your favorite pedal, Kyle?
Oh, man. Besides a volume pedal, I got to go any delay pedal.
But any delay? You
any
don't
delay
have one?
pedal. The one I've been using the most lately is the Strymon Dig.
Oh, okay.
And so it's their dual delay.
Oh.
And so sometimes, like I said, I don't really use reverb all that much. If I'm wanting that sound, I'll dial up a couple. They've got the golden ratio is one of the presets, and then you've got like dotted quarter and all that stuff.
Any of the secondary functions on that pedal offer spring verb?
I think maybe it does.
I know the Capistan does. That's the only Strymon pedal that I've got on my board right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those that's a little risk averse when it comes to like doing presets that are built in, because I don't know how to get in and out of them.
Yeah,
so I'm a little bit shy of that.
Is the Dig one of the double function?
No, it's a regular Strymon size.
Yeah, it's kind of a square, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like the same. It's the same footprint as the Capistan.
Yeah.
And the Flint and all that, but it's got preset options on it.
I'm not sure if this has presets, but as far as changing different
it's
functions,
probably got a favorite.
Like a favorite.
Well, yeah, they all work with the favorite. I just misunderstood. I thought you were saying it's just a lot of. It's a 5-knob, right?
Yeah, it's got the manual switches and everything. I was just saying.
How many dip switches are there?
There would be
2
with 3 functions each.
Okay, so that's like the typical.
It's like a standard one.
This typical pedal designed for that square joint, 5 knobs. Each of the secondary function and 2 dip switches.
Yeah, and it's great.
That's the Flint and the Deco. Actually, the Deco may not have the switches, but it's a 5-knob.
Yeah.
pedal.
Man, I've got a Deco as well, and you talk about something that's really useful. It's not really a delay pedal to me. It's really more of a saturation pedal.
It's like an Echoplex preamp kind of a thing, right?
But you can get so much tape saturation out of it that I've used it for actual instead of overdrive before.
Really?
And just
a lot of people do.
That. It's so cool, man. Like that's a great pedal.
There's so many pedals that I yet do not have that I would like to have.
They don't make anything bad.
Yeah,
they really don't. Kyle, what is your favorite thing about being a musician? Is it the early airport calls?
Of course it is. Yeah, we were talking about early airports, and I was dropped off at 2:30 the other morning. So I'm with you on that.
I've gotten up at 3 twice in the last 5 days, but I have not had to be dropped off at 2:30.
Yeah,
it's even worse.
There's a lot of great things about being a musician, and the obvious ones are that you get to do what you love and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people out there that do what they love, so it's not unique in that way. But the biggest thing about being a musician for me is that when I walk through the door of any place, I feel like I'm being myself. Because when they say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a musician." Because since I was 4 years old, pretending to be George Strait, that's what I wanted to do, and
so upset.
Yeah. Nervous wreck. But the thing about it is, I'm not a frontman, of course, but I come from a musical family. All of us do, I'm sure. It's something and I'm not unique in that way, but in my mind, the best part about being a musician for me is that when I talk to people, I'm being my genuine self, and I get to let them know that this is what I spend my time thinking about doing. It consumes all of my free time for the most part, other than family time,
tracking down
important things,
lady friends and
exactly
enticing them to wed.
Precisely,
whichever we have all done recently.
Yes.
And we're rather will do soon.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite thing about being a musician? Is it the airports that I alluded to earlier?
Yeah. The travel certainly can be tough, but even when you're in the studio, it's kind of hard to be at somebody's beck and call when you know what the quote right answer is. So I'd say like humility probably is something that's one of the tougher things about being in the music business, because you have to know your role. And there's so many times where your boss is, 10 years old. I had one of my bosses 10 or 12 years old one time, and I got to listen to what that guy said, kid. But what that man in business terms,
that baby person said,
I've got to listen to what they say. And, so humility is something that it's not that it's one of my least favorite things, but it's something that you can learn so that you don't have to like be put in your place or anything like that.
It's a hard skill to learn.
So sometimes people take for granted what we do and how much of a value musicians add to what they're doing. But,
or like how many hours we spent
sure
learning how to do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's biggest for me. It's like, yeah, I play guitar, but you can't play guitar, and I spent all the time that you spent doing whatever it is that you're doing now, or maybe you spent all your time partying and now you sell roofs door to door or something or whatever. And not saying that's not a good job, because you can certainly make money that way. But that nobody thinks about the time. It's like, golly, $4,000 to play my wedding. It's like, yeah, fool.
Yeah.
It's definitely my sentiment.
Yeah, unless you're going to start paying me hourly for how many times I put in, how many hours I put in the practice room. Then $4,000 for me to come play your stupid ass wedding.
Tell us how you feel.
Do you have a favorite venue?
Oh man, for a while there we were playing Chicago all the time. So like just Chicago in general was fun. Joe's Bar on Weed Street was a classic.
Have you done the Joe's Live thing?
Yeah, it's nice.
Joe's Live is cool.
Is that Rosemont? Is that what they're calling Joe's Live?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But there was something about, because
he lived up there for a while.
like 7 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you were around a lot of that. I think Keith Urban even stopped by Joe. Like Miranda would stop by Joe's if she played I think we played Wrigley Field one time, and we were on the same tour as Miranda, and I think some of them went over to Joe's afterward, and it was that kind of place where
what's his
people
name?
didn't
Is
really
it Ed,
care.
the guy?
I can't remember.
I think his name is Ed, the guy that runs
they
the whole
always
RTM management or whatever.
Yeah, they had a great crew.
Super nice guy, and that all those places take great care of the musicians.
Yeah.
So and they have good music there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in town, where are we going to go after this shed? Well, by God, we're going to go to Joe's, because Ed and them always take such good care of us.
Exactly.
There's going to be a fun band. We're going to have some shots,
and you can go anywhere till like 4 a.m.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting to the nitty gritty here. So, off the top of your head, no deliberation, knee jerk, impulse response.
Okay.
3 Desert Island records.
God, sorry. George Strait, the one with the fireman on it. Can't remember the name of the record.
I think it's called The One with the Fireman on it.
Yeah, there you go. Have to be one of those, because you got to have some George Strait in your life.
Volume 2.
Some kind of Eric Clapton. Since we're on a desert island, let's do 461 Ocean Boulevard.
Okay.
That's a good one. And then it would have to be something rocking. Like some Led Zeppelin or I don't think I would choose a metal record as one, but it would probably
you have
be
to choose
something.
One more.
That's 3, right? Like a Zeppelin record.
No, that's not a Zeppelin record.
I'm sorry.
It's
Okay.
not choosing a record.
So Led Zeppelin 4.
Okay.
There you go.
So we got Eric Clapton, 461, 3000, Forever Man.
Yes.
And
Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind? That's
and does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
So that's kind of an odd.
And Led Zeppelin 4.
That's kind of an odd choice, but that would be 3 to give you enough of the styles.
Oh, that's what I want. I don't want any deliberation.
There you go.
Do you have anything that you would consider like a music style that you would, or like a band or a song or a genre that you would consider guilty pleasure music?
I think
like whether it's Spandau Ballet or I don't know, something else British.
When I was playing drums, I would say that I always wanted to go see the NSYNC live show, because I thought it'd be great as a drummer. But so you had to know the songs to know that. So maybe the byproduct of having a sister during that time is that
I've got two of them, and I know exactly what you mean.
The boy bands would filter into your subconscious.
I've got a twin sister, so yeah.
Record? What's the record that you like?
Oh, I definitely don't have a favorite.
I do.
But it would be, I just thought it would be really cool to see the live show and just kind of put some.
No Strings Attached is one of the
Is that
best.
the one? Okay.
Dude, there's some hip arrangements in there, man.
That's one of the best pop records that's ever been made. It's great music. They're great singers, and whoever arranged and every aspect of that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Digital Get Down is my favorite song on there. And then what's the one after that? I think the record's called Celebrity, but there's a tune on there called Girlfriend. Will you be my girlfriend?
I do remember that.
You good?
Yeah.
That's a great song. They got a bunch of great music. Anybody that hates is
it's No Strings Attached and then Celebrity.
Yeah. Those are. I had two younger sisters.
There you go.
And NSYNC was like coming on right as I was getting out of high school, but I stayed in touch with my roots.
Don't give us your excuses.
That's not an excuse. I like it. What's your piece of advice for aspiring professionals?
It's your job. Treat it like it is. I've been the biggest one to not treat my job like it's a real job.
Solid gold.
And you gotta treat it like it's a real job, because it'll take care of you if you do that.
You're absolutely right. And I lost. Okay, we're back. What's the professional accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Playing on #1 record. That's.
Is that the Joe Knuckles? Or I'm sorry, the Jake Owen?
The Jake Owen was the first one that I was part of, and I've worked on a couple since then. But I was pretty young at the time, and I was playing a family instrument, and it was just kind of cool to reach that milestone. So
I have an extreme love-hate relationship with that song. Great song, super catchy. Can't get it out of my brain. Played it 70 billion times from 2008 to 2000. What did it come out? 2010,
2011,
2011 to 20.
What's today?
18. 2011 to 2018. It was like 1 to 2 times a gig, and that was back when I was playing downtown. Yeah. Almost solely and several times a day.
Yeah, I played it a couple of times with you probably.
Was that your hook?
I'm sure. That's his dobro.
The little dobro hook.
Yeah, but you came up with it on the spot.
So the producer Joey Moy hummed a couple of things too.
I didn't know Joey produced it.
Yeah, so that was the big thing, is that Jake was kind of, because I was like, what is this? When they played it for me, I was like, is this like, it's a party anthem or whatever? I was like, what is this? And we didn't think it was going to do anything. All the people that had heard it, not all the people, but like me personally, I had heard a few things ahead of time, and I was wrong. And it became like the sound pretty much of that same decade.
I can never tell.
Dude.
I can never tell what song. Yeah.
Yeah. He told me a while back that it
Barefoot Jake, bro.
It was the most played song on the media base chart, and then Cruise was the one on the Billboard. And Cruise basically came right after that.
Yeah.
I love that dude's voice, and I love a lot of the songs that he chose. I did One That Got Away for
that's a great
decade or more. I haven't done it in a minute, but I should totally, because it's a freaking great song.
It's a good song.
Okay, second to last question. Pick an album of the week, and I'm going to throw it in a playlist, which I will link. I'm just going to start comprising a playlist. Each guest picks an album. I'm just going to start throwing it in there.
Right on. I mean,
it's just for people looking to get outside their comfort zone or their box, or like listen to stuff they didn't know about, like the band Pages and their album Pages. You know Pages?
I don't know Pages.
Well, neither does anybody else, and by God, it is amazing. Yacht rock from '81. It's got like Porcaro and Coluda and a cast of characters.
So as much as I want to add a Slayer record to your playlist, I'm not going to do that to anybody.
Do whatever you want.
But there's
my
been
audience. There's been 12 of us will love it.
There's been a really great record that I've been listening to, and it's Robert Palmer. It's Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley.
Yeah.
So that thing is just so funky, man. And
put on your sailing shoes.
Sailing shoes.
What a great song.
And when I thought
that was Little Feat the first time I heard it.
Well, and it was Lowell George playing slide.
Oh, of course it was.
That's where. And so when I saw your slide rig on the pedal board, that was the first thought. I was like, I want to see if I can get that sound, because I love what he did on there. So I'd have to say that's what it is.
I know that he used those 2 1176s to get that sound, But like, do you know the rest of the signal chain?
No, I don't.
Okay, I don't either, and I think that's what's pretty important.
I just figure
I know it's a Craftsman 9/16.
I figure really.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I just figured it's probably going straight into the board.
It
sounds direct to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did a gig. Sorry to derail, but
no,
I did a gig with.
That's what this podcast is literally for.
Gear, beer, and derailment.
Yeah.
But we did the Bristol Motor Speedway during the Bristol race last year, and we wound up having
East Tennessee.
Yeah, we wound up having the. We had to cut things short because of lightning, but
oh shit!
But I actually the first time I've ever truly forgotten my bar. Like I stashed extras everywhere. Like I've got stuff in my car. I've got bars everywhere, and I didn't have a steel guitar bar.
Fuck.
I didn't even have a dobro bar. Like I was screwed, and so I started asking around, and Adam was friends with one of the drivers, and so he called over to the driver and said, "Hey, would one of your guys?" And he said, "What size would you want?" And I mismeasured or whatever, but I wound up playing the gig with a 5/16 socket.
Oh, a little bitty boy.
And well, no, it was about like that. It was larger than a steel guitar bar. So I don't. Maybe it's 9/16.
That's what Lowell used was 9/16.
Yeah, well, maybe it was a 9/16. Anyway,
that'd be the perfect one.
All that to say that that was the most polished, nicest looking socket I've ever seen because it was NASCAR. It's a NASCAR pit crew.
Oh yeah,
and so
thick chrome, boy,
thick chrome, buddy. And
how'd it sound?
Oh, it sounded great. Yeah, it sounded awesome. You couldn't even tell the difference. It would catch the strings, of course. It's not rounded off, but Getting back to the question at hand, though, Lowell George playing a 9/16 on the Robert Palmer record.
That's a great
Changed
record.
Your life.
Wow. I'm going to check that out.
Doctor. Yeah, man. First time I heard that, I think it's probably Billy Freeman or maybe even Shea Henley.
Probably Billy.
For me.
That sounds like something Billy would play.
And it was probably Billy because the fact that it was Billy playing it made me even more think that it was Little Feat.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one of his, biggest loves musically. Yeah, what a great record. I'll absolutely be putting that. That's going to start it. I'm going to start it off with that record. So,
awesome.
I'll be asking everybody. And I got a couple of, I haven't got them exactly scheduled yet, but I got a couple of guests I'm excited about that I'll be doing Zoom podcasts with soon.
Nice.
All right, the final question for you, Pride of Blakely, Georgia, Mr. Kyle Everson, multi-instrumentalist extraordinaire. You are now in what we call the King's Court, and you have to decide the most impossible of choices. And that question is this. You have to pick one.
Okay.
The King's Court, you have to choose between the kings. Albert, BB, Freddie, Earl, Carol, or King's X?
Albert.
Correct answer. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. I'm just kidding. I think I probably choose Freddie myself.
Yeah, I've been listening to Freddie a good bit lately, actually.
Have you heard the Burglar record?
No.
Okay, so I played a crazy one-off gig for the Mississippi Board of Tourism with Charlie Worsham several months ago.
Yeah.
And he turned me on to that record, and it's Steve Ferrone playing on it.
Oh, man.
And it is murderous, man.
Yeah, definitely be checking that out.
It's funky and bluesy, and it's the height of Freddie King. So check out Burglar if you think about it.
Excellent.
One more time for our guest, Mr. Kyle Everson. We got Lyndon McCarty, as always, twisting and tweaking. Yeah. My name is Rob Miller. All the links will be down there. Make sure and follow and like and do all the social media stuff. And comment and DM. And if you want a shirt, you can go to www.robertmillermedia and go to the shop page where you can find both artist shirts for my silly music as well as Gear and Beer podcast shirts like I'm currently wearing. Until next time, and I'll link all your social stuff and anything else you want me. You can. You got your website. You got a website?
I'm not doing my website right now. I'm more just doing the personal thing.
Well, we'll link to your your Instagram. Instagram is our preferred
kind of is
method. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll be linking to your Instagram, and everybody can see your burritos and your steel guitar bars. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Everson, Lyndon McCarty, Rob Miller. See you next time on Gear and Beer.
Thank you for listening to the Gear and Beer Podcast. Make sure and subscribe and turn on notifications for our channels, and if you haven't already, follow our Instagram and YouTube channels. We truly appreciate your support and ask that you please tell anyone you know whom you think might be interested in our podcast about gear and beer to help us grow and continue bringing in great guests from around the industry and beyond. Thanks again, and until the next episode.